Okay, so we've heard from SIA with AI for AR. We've heard from Datatron, predictive analytics for financial institutions. Next up is StreamLoan, B2B SaaS mobile mortgage tech. How's that? Armando, whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, one second. Let me organize my gadgets here. Perfect. Ready, set. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. My name is Armando Gonzalez, CTO and co-founder of StreamLoan. StreamLoan will allow you to buy a home on your phone. And today, I'm going to show you how we're going to transform the industry and why StreamLoan delivers the best customer experience and the best technology in a very, very old-fashioned mortgage industry in the United States. So in order for me to walk you through the demo, I have two screens here up on top. I want to tell you that I'm going to impersonate two different people. The regular borrower, like you and me, buying a house, and I thought I could buy a piece of the Switzerland for $600,000. And so I'm going to walk you through the experience of borrower. And once we finish the experience of the borrower on your left-hand side, I'm going to walk you through the experience of the lender and how they collaborate in the new digital era. So what you can see, I will direct your attention to the left-hand side. So what you can see here is what we call in our application a property card. This could be created by the lender, by the borrower, or by yourself. And this is pretty much the property that you're trying to purchase. So once you create the property, the next step, this is when StreamLoan working with lenders. We pre-configure all the requirements that you need to be underwritten. Here, these are all the categories of documents that you as a borrower need to fulfill to be able to get qualified for a loan. So once you are in the experience, StreamLoan walks you almost like a workflow process to start fulfilling this documentation. So I'm going to start with identity, in which I'm going to add first documents. And StreamLoan allows you to do document ingestion in three ways. From your financial institutions, we have access to around 15,000 institutions that you can just punch your bank credentials in. We can download the documents from the cloud, and also you can select it from your camera roll or just take a picture if that's convenient for you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to import my driver's license from my Google Drive. I'm going to get into my personal account because I have my personal documentation here. And then I'm going to say, okay, I want to put my driver's license, and boom. And now I'm moving from Google Docs into my StreamLoan. So if I can show you my driver's license, I'm going to send to my borrower. That's the monkey. That's the monkey.
Way more than that.
So then, so I did one. So what the beauty of this is you notice that now the task is being tasked at, okay, Armando already did this, and identity now moved to 50%. So I'm going to do the same thing with driver's license. Same concept. I have it in my Google Drive, and then I'm going to do the same process again, personal documentation, and then I'm going to do my social security card, and boom, voila. So after I do this, now I have completed the identity process, right? So as you can see now, it says in the borrower stats bar, I'm 16% completed towards my application. So I'm going to do another quick demonstration on the online banking. So if I choose to do from a financial institution, I can pick, for example, Bank of America. And then pretty much you just punch in your credentials. I'm going to put some fake credentials because I don't want you to hack my account. And then what's going to happen is the system will establish the connections. Now the beauty of this is I think a game changer, because in the past, if you've gone through the process, you give your documents to the lender, and 3 months later or 2 months, they send you the documents saying, so you need to do this process over and over. So with this, what you do is you just punch your credentials and you move on with your life. It will auto-fetch the documents, and the lenders will be done when those are ready. So it tells me it failed because I put punch in fake credentials, but I'll show you quickly one that I linked from my actual bank statements, and this is my actual bank statement from the institutions. But let's get excited. Cool. So that's kind of, you get the concept, right? So now I'm going to show you in a quick 30 seconds what the lender will do. On the left-hand side, I can look for this property, so I need to, I guess, refresh it again. And then I'm going to the property, and you can see the identity is now fulfilled. So those are the documents that I just entered. Then I can see, let's see, the monkey's there. Oh, there's a monkey. It's a lender. And I can tell, hey, Armando, don't mess around with me because the monkey is not cool. So then I can say, and let me exit here, so you can see this. So then I can say as a lender, Armando, monkey, not cool. Alright, so Armando, monkey, not cool. So there Armando gets a message, monkey, not cool. And that's how we can start collaborating, and we have a single place for collaboration. So welcome to StreamLoan, where we want to make the journey to home ownership as rewarding as a destination.
Thank you, Armando. You guys know the drill. Hands up high. Oh, of course.
Thank you for making the journey all the way ahead.
It's all about the journey.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. To get documents from Google Drive, would users also be required to put in their credentials in your app?
Well, the way in the app works, as long as you have your credentials of Google Drive once, yeah, it automatically does it. So the answer to your question, yes, you need to log into Google Drive once, and that's the standard procedure.
Just once?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Is that the month? What happened?
So I have a couple of questions, because lending for me is interesting, but it's not as simple as it looks like. One of the questions is, are banking institutions going to accept the document that are being sent like that? Because one of the biggest problems is that they have always been complaining of fraud or whatever. So how do you manage that? And also different loans require different level of documentation.
Yep.
So then how does the client know what to provide and not to provide? Because sometimes it's not about providing, it's about not providing.
Yeah, so at least the way we've seen with our customers, to answer your first question, is you need to work with the lender to see what are the requirements given the persona. Some lender says, like, if you're a W-2 employee, you need this type of documentation. If you're a contractor or a business owner, you need this. So we configure that with the lenders. So the moment that you you sign up for the process, then we can auto-match the requirements. That's one. In terms of authenticity of documentation, that's the beauty of this system. When you saw that I was linking my bank accounts, no one can tamper those documents. So it's coming directly from your financial institution back to the lender for underwriting, so that's one. And secondly, what we've seen in the industry is trending is they're moving away from the PDF statements, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac now are actually more open to access data feeds with the aggregators from the Silicon Valley, and that's what we're moving towards the next step. Not only PDFs, but also industry standards with data transfer. But it has to be all computer machine to machine, so no human intervention to ensure authenticity. Does that answer?
Yeah, that's the first part. The second question was, what document not to show or to show?
Okay, in terms of privacy.
No, in terms of qualifying for different loan programs. So sometimes you don't want to show too much information or too little. So
as a consumer or as a
consumer, as a borrower.
Well, no, it doesn't work here like that in the United States because at least the customers that I've been working with, the loan officer works as an advisor, right? So the loan officer needs to get your information, and you I mean, if you don't want to disclose your social security card, etc., then that's up to you. But at the end of the day, those are lists of legal documents that you need to fulfill in order for you to be pre-qualified, right? So we cannot bend the rules. There's a written, right? That's at least what I've seen the 3 customers that we're working on right now. Well, that's my personal opinion on this. Sorry if I didn't answer your question.
Hi, Armando. My name is Saji, and I have 2 parts to this question. One, in terms of what you're doing from a customer experience perspective in fintech and mortgages, it's great when you're getting to the point of reducing friction. But a key component is automation, right? Automation is about data sourcing and vendors. Then when you relate that to the 1003, which is typically about 140 questions, right? And an average time to close, lender and various parties and the actual person that wants to obtain a home, about 35 to 40 days or so. How are you trying to reduce that time to closing based on regulatory factors such as 7 days or so as minimum rate, and reducing the amount a consumer has to input manually their data to the point where, okay, you know, I've gone to 1003 from 140 questions to 20 questions based on the data source that you're providing. And how does that relate in a customer experience perspective?
Yeah, so ideally, the 1003 is an interesting challenge. I think everybody's trying to solve for it, but our vision is that when we start, that's where we're integrating with Jotly as a partnership. The moment that we start actually integrating data as much as possible from the data providers, so we should be able to collect as much as possible information with data providers. So if you consent as a consumer, I consent StreamLoan to get my data from all these aggregators plus all these like the work number and all these services that are out there that actually have personal information, right? And with the objective of simplifying the user experience, that's what we call the smart 1003. And we're moving towards that. And the idea is you just put your consent form, you input your certain parameters, and then after that, all these services we can aggregate the data. And then the form that today is filled out manually and probably you sit with your lender on probably an hour session, then it's going to disappear. And but for that we need to partner with institutions. It's not a single institution has all the data pieces. So we need to strategically to find the partners that will allow us to meet that vision.
Good answer.